Kate. This is my channel and this is my top 5 Wednesday books, non-horror books that scared me. Now I don't really do top 5 Wednesday in a top 5, I just kind of go, here are 5 books. So here are 5 books that scared me, that aren't supposed to be horror, I don't think. So the first one I want to talk about is Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass by Lewis Carroll. This is kind of an existential horror, especially the parts where she's just wandering around going, I don't know where I am, I'm lost, how do I get home, what's going on? It's just the way that it's described is really unsettling, and I don't know if it's supposed to be an existential horror or if it's kind of like a scary book in the way that children's books are often quite terrifying. But I was really unnerved by this book, and the Disney film, the animated Disney film, is also quite terrifying. The flowers, oh my god, the flowers are so frightening, as is like the Cheshire Cat when she's like walking down and like the pebbles disappear behind her and they sort of light up a few at a time in front of her. Oh, but yeah, the book as well, there is just something about it, like it's hugely funny in parts, the wordplay is incredible, but then there are just parts where the absolute lack of sense is terrifying and the existential crisis is existential, if that makes sense. But off with her head, that queen, the Queen of Hearts, monstrous, absolutely monstrous, flowers, terrifying. This book scared me. Okay, the next one is kind of representative of the whole series. It's that it frightened me like the first time I read it. It's Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. When everyone got petrified, that frightened me so much, so much. And in Prisoner of Azkaban, the Dementors. So being petrified and the Dementors, so creepy. But because this is obviously comes first, this is probably the first book I ever read, I think, that I was like, oh, well, I don't know about this. So Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, being petrified / the Dementors and being kissed by the Dementors. Not okay, J.K. Rowling. Not okay, especially for, little 10-year-old me. So next, this is not a horror, but it is a hard science fiction. It is hard feminist science fiction, I guess, and to an extent, or to quite a large extent as well, racial. It's science fiction about race and feminism, and that is Woman on the Edge of Time by Marge Piercy. So the light's a bit crap. Woman on the Edge of Time by Marge Piercy. This was frightening, so it's kind of like time travel, I guess, and she goes forward into the future to look at how the world's going to turn out, and that part wasn't frightening. The part that was frightening was the bit that was set in the present day, which I think is the 70s, I think. It was about the 70s. Yeah, 1976. So the present day in 1970s, a black woman who basically gets put in a mental institution because her family wants to punish her, basically. And being a black woman in a mental institution in the 70s, when you're not actually crazy, you just need a little bit of help, I guess even if you were crazy, was the most frightening, intense thing I've ever had to read, and I can't imagine having to live through it. So this is a really heavy book. I wouldn't recommend it to everybody, but if you want to read something powerful and meaningful and still relevant, yeah, this might be the thing for you. So that's Woman on the Edge of Time by Marge Piercy. Scared the daylights out of me. The next book, I think it's potentially supposed to be frightening, but not a horror novel. It is definitely science fiction, and that is The World for World is Forrest by Ursula K. Le Guin. This is an SF Masterworks edition with the, again, the light's crap, with the yellow spine. So this is meant to be like an allegory for the Vietnam War. And there's humans come into an alien planet and try and suppress the local population. They basically seem to think that these people aren't very smart. They're barely sentient as far as the humans are concerned, because they don't fight back, because they, what does it say? When the inhabitants of a peaceful world are conquered by the bloodthirsty humans, they find themselves forced into servitude at the mercy of their brutal masters. Eventually, desperation causes them to abandon their strictures against violence and rebel against their captors, but in doing so they have endangered the very foundations of their society. For every blow against the invaders is a blow to the humanity of the Athsheans, and once the killing starts, there is no turning back. And the thing that was frightening about this was the leader of the humans, like the military leader, I guess. I can't remember his name, but he was the single most terrifying character I have ever encountered in fiction, and not because he was like some obscene monster, but because he was so soulless and utterly lacked empathy and utterly lacked understanding of somebody else's humanity, to the point where he did not acknowledge these, not even as people, but even as animals. He would not acknowledge them as such. And it was frightening because it was so realistic. It was so easy to see this guy as a real person who utterly lacked empathy and the ability to connect with another person. Even just thinking about it, it gives me shivers. But I really do recommend it. It's only very short, and it will change the way that you look at science fiction, and it has a lot to say about colonialism and difference and violence. So The World for World is Forest by Ursula K. Le Guin. And the last book I'm going to talk about is much more recent book. I think it's the most recent of the lot. And that is Radiance by Catherine M. Valenti. And just check out that cover. How stunning is that? It's beautiful, because you can see my reflection in the book. But this is it's a science fiction book that imagines the future from 1920s Hollywood. So if you're standing in 1920s Hollywood, what do you predict the future to be? And that's what this future is. So it's I think they call it it's like a planetary romance almost, and it's set within the solar system, and there's human colonies on every planet, and there's I think it's coloured movies and sound movies. The talkies are still only kind of new, even though they've colonized the solar system. And every planet has a very different society, and so there's Hollywood is now based on the moon, and there's a the world's most famous, or the solar system's most famous director, made all these great movies, and he has a bit of a glamorous but mysterious kind of life. But the book is about his adult daughter, who was also a filmmaker, but in open defiance of her father, she makes documentaries, and she tries to make realistic documentaries. So he makes the most elaborate, imaginative films he can come up with, and she's like, no, I want to show the universe as it really is. And so she goes on this mission there's a lost colony on Venus, I think, and she wants to make a documentary about this lost colony and try and figure out what happened to them. And while her and her film crew are on Venus, they go missing. And so this is her father's attempt to put her documentary and her disappearance into film as a work of fiction. So he goes through all the different genres of film and tries to reimagine how he could make that film about his missing daughter in these different genres and what that would look like. And there's it's all told through different things. There's film scripts and transcripts and diary entries and emails and paparazzi magazines, and it's weird and it is bizarre, and some of the images and the settings and are just creepy, so creepy. Venus, there are these, they call them tallow whales maybe, and you have to collect something from the whales, and it's everywhere in the solar system, and it's about how you collect this stuff, and are the whales alive, and are we hurting them by doing this? All the different planets are quite creepy. The way she disappeared is so creepy. But the thing that creeped me out the most was they sort of go back and talk about her childhood with her father, and they talk about how, because it's all black and white, to get the best black and white image, everything on set gets painted blue. And at one point, her father paints the whole inside of her house, including her, blue, so they can live inside a film, because he's just that obsessed with film. And so she goes around being painted blue, and then she rebels by washing the paint off and wearing different colours. And I just the idea of that is so unsettling and so creepy. It was beautiful and weird and strange, and parts of it really scared me. And I don't know why, other than the fact it's oh, that's not good. Anyway, so here are my top 5 books, non-horror books that scared me. I would love to see what you come up with and have a chat with it. So I will see you next time, everyone. Bye.